Chile here with Sirius Dallas Moon, and of course for this eclipse, the chart that we all know that we needed is Ginghis Khan. Whatever, I'll just go to the chart. So Genghis Khan, we have, oh, where did it go so far? The fuck, what is happening? I just did Genghis Khan chart. There it is. So Genghis Khan, apparently we actually have an ascendant. And it's unsurprisingly 22 degrees Cancer. I don't know how come we have an ascendant. Midheaven 27 degrees Pisces, where Saturn is going to conjoin on the second solar eclipse. Chiron 15 degrees Pisces, very close to Rahu for this lunar eclipse. Rahu in Aries 14 degrees, Ketu in Libra. Now, he had a stellium in Libra with Saturn in Libra. Actually Saturn next to Zendaya. So Moon and Sun right where we're going to have the solar eclipse in Virgo at the end of the month. Pluto 9 degrees Cancer. Uranus on Algol. Uranus retrograde on Algol. You see, there was a lot of Genghis Khan coming when Uranus was crossing Beta Persei. Neptune, Aquarius. So let's take a look at this chart. First of all, Libra is the 4th house. And Venus ruling Uranus in Libra, 2nd degree. Jupiter in Libra. Venus in her home sign. What Genghis Khan was known for, that he listened to spiritual advisors before he conquered, and then he committed a shit ton of evil. Indeed, Sun and Moon surrounding, and Moon is ruler of the 22nd degree slaughtering ascendant, and it is mass slaughter because it is close to Al-Qaeda. And Al-Qaeda, yeah, we're going to have an eclipse close to Al-Qaeda, is the destructions of cities and mass deaths. So like if the Saturn and Neptune is not mass psychosis and mass death enough for anybody, then we have an eclipse on Al-Qaeda to complete that. And we have Uranus on Beta Persei, which, to quote my teacher Lada Duncheva, it is anciently symbolizing bodies upon bodies. Like I said, Falcon, don't rape. Those are the children that are born in rape. And it was possible because many people raped children, and so the spiritual advisors were fragmented and told Genghis Khan to make them pay for their sins. Now, usually the sin was that the child was seducing the 30, 40 years old person, and that would only be enabled if the person was ritually abused and the child was ritually abused. So you see, before MK Ultra, there was also ritual abuse. And yeah, those are the children that are born. Shit ton of planets in Libra. So he was very concerned with balancing things and creating justice. Saturn is actually exalted in Libra. With Saturn next to Zendaya, he was people-pleasing. And he was people-pleasing towards structures of justice when he was performing his supposed evils to conquer, to supposedly rightfully conquer. Mars is also in Libra, 8 degrees Libra, next to Vendia Matrix, which is about corruption and the correction of corruption in business. Again, to quote my teacher Lada Duncheva, and mainly the first decan of Libra, and then Mercury, 11 degree Libra, ruling over the sun and the moon. So basically he was destroying cities. If you think about colonialism as the only tribes that survived up until colonialism were the tribes that were killing one another the most effectively. And then came a bigger tribe. So that was Genghis Khan. Now is this question, do we have another Genghis Khan for this eclipse? I was thinking about it, unfortunately. And so I hope for people that not, like I'm for euthanasia. Um, but Opus Dei is against that, I guess. So this is, yeah, that entire Virgo stellium is trining Neptune in Aquarius, which connects that to going viral or going global with the judiciary balancing, conquering, mass destruction and mass death endeavors. Since all of these Libra stellium is closer to Ketu, it means that he was on a spiritual mission. What do I mean by that? Rao is when we materialize something, and Ketu is where we let go of materialization. So he was consulting all the spiritual advisors. So for those who wonder, hey, if Genghis Khan came to Shirley Youngblood and asked for an opinion, I said, listen, all the folk in the traffic and are pro trafficking, they will anyway cause either you or something more terrible. I do believe in ethical death, so not suffering death, because if you inflict suffering, you perpetuate their crime and your empire will fall, and all your legacy will be that you were just this person who was against humanity, even though you go to me to consult how to be in favor of humanity. That's what I would say. But then, if you set a boundary to rape and trafficking, the easiest people to govern are sovereigns, and not only will you not have to worry about resources, but you are eradicating your problems, because your problems stemmed from rape, whether of men, children, or women. And unfortunately, the best of advisors that Genghis Khan had were probably not, either they were not women or they were women that bought their lineage into the priesthood by complying with rape and raping. And that's the best of advice that he got. So he perpetuated the same crimes that the tribes were perpetuating on the tribes. And that's how he conquered them. Do we have another Genghis Khan for the solar eclipse? We might have. That's the problem, and that's the issue. So the square to Pluto creates an existential crisis, and the moon that's ruling Pluto and the ascendant is again on Al-Qaid. So very likely it was coming from the northeast. It was Mongol, no? I don't remember. And all of these squares to Pluto, yeah, the Corvan out, the square of Saturn and Pluto, which is beyond, it is a crisis of transforming structure from the core, and it had to do with tribes, because back then it was not nation states, it was tribes, peoples, and caregiving very likely had to do with the cloning heritage. because the moon has to do with fertility. So perpetuating crisis, also in relational crisis, relational abuse, spiritual abuse, all things that he dealt with and he perpetuated, unfortunately, even though he consulted with the best gurus of his time, because he was trying to get out of. Okay, new moon is trying something new, and this was yes, in the beginning. I don't know. I think he was born around an eclipse. I'm not sure. He might have been born around an eclipse. And the moon and the sun are closer to Ketu. So again, what he wants to conquer materially, a lot of spiritual quest is involved with that. He's basically trying to purge certain spiritual karma by, and this is a tragic story of Genghis Khan, because he was trying to purge, by the conquest, he was trying to purge the spiritual wrongs that he encountered. And then he was trying to see what will the best of the shamans, he was kind of bringing some sort of a karma on their false spiritualities. But unfortunately, he was doing that through tremendous perpetuating of those false spiritualities. And this is the tragic part, because he was trying to purge the spiritual karma. Or when you have a lot of planets around Ketu, it means that you've been somewhere in the past. He may have been even an emperor in the past of a judiciary force. It's Libra, kind of like a Switzerland, of a trade judiciary force. And very likely he was trying to purge the wrongdoings of spiritual karma in some way, so to materialize through the fact, it's kind of like, hey, if I'm going to conquer something, I want to have my kingdom spiritually aligned. And so I will consult the best of spiritual practitioners as I conquer material land, because Mars is actually closer to Ketu. Vulcan with Ketu Mars, listen up. The root of your fragmentation had to do with rape, and further perpetuating rape does not bring justice. This is the tragedy of Libra, because Libra wants justice, but the middle phase of Libra is about just doing to others what they did. However, it was spiritually challenging for Genghis Khan to deal with the fact that all of these people that are doing all of these crimes perhaps need to be exterminated, so that we stop the actions of crimes. So he was trying to show them why they were exterminated, and conquer land and have power in a way that is right. He was basically trying to do what is right and have material empire, but the point was not a big material empire, but he wanted the resources to be spiritually aligned. And all he got in every single tribe that he went to, because he wanted to punish people supposedly for their sins, so that his empire will be spiritually aligned, but all he got was fragmented teachings that perpetuated fragmentation, and that was eventually to be his downfall. It kind of like modernly, I think the closest was Adolf Hitler, because he did conquer a lot of land, and he was a cultist, but he perpetuated. Okay, he did not have euthanasia, because again, Opus Dei was blocking Hitler from doing that, even if he would want to, by the way. So again. So this is not about Hitler being good or bad. It's like what was allowed at his time within his scope. And so he was a part of that which was not aligned, although all his endeavors were trying to align something. There could be a creation of a master race, because Rahu in Aries is a Mars ruled sign that can allude to that. Ruler of the midheaven in the 4th house, so Jupiter is expansion, so he wanted to have a rightful expansion of land, basically of his motherland. And ascendant is Cancer 22. He can see slaughter as caregiving, caretaking for big cities, bringing death, bringing misfortune as caretaking. Yes, it's twisted and fucked up, but the people that are born in rape are born into fragmented reality that makes it challenging to create authentic cohesion. And this leads me to my next point. Authentic cohesion is not supportive of rape and is not perpetuating rape. It's very important to remember that for this eclipse, because this eclipse emphasizes toxic, fragmented religious spiritual cohesion. And by that, it's going to expose that. And then we have the solar eclipse, which can bring a little bit, it can have a Genghis Khan energies. Now let's take a look at who was Genghis Khan. Aside of that, everybody that has this Genghis Khan song playing in the background, so it's playing in my consciousness as well. Why attempts to rape me as I talk about Genghis Khan? Come on. Falcon, don't be like Genghis Khan. So Trudy! Shout out to Trudy Verstegen. If you don't know Trudy Verstegen, then she exposes the Mongolian real estate empire of cloning, and he was considered the father of the Mongols. There are rare earth minerals in Mongolia. His sons made it the second empire in the history of humanity, and he was a global ruler. We still deal with those people. The Phoenicians. I don't know what the Phoenicians are related to those, but was born in 1162. Now here's the thing. Those folks are successful when people, if a people accept rape, then Genghis Khan will rule. If a people don't normalize rape, Genghis Khan will fall. Very simple. Now, if Genghis Khan would not fall into his death, but into his authentic cohesion. And it's we, the people, that whenever we normalize rape and we justify rape, then basically we're bringing about the Genghis Khan. It's not a prophecy, it's just common sense. Because we're about to have another Genghis Khan cycle. So, and people were just, because people were raping people, because people were, doing all these things, then he was like, okay, then let me have the land. Like, they're dumb fucks, let me have their land. And it's kind of like in that reality, when everybody normalizes rape, then the biggest dumb fuck wins. But when people don't normalize that, then they hold even the biggest dumb fuck accountable, then it goes to a crisis of creation, which is having to face the fact and be held accountable, and then basically destroy his own fungal structures and become a happy, thriving, prosperous bearing a cohesive, true human being that is actually optimistic and benefic. And it's when the people accept rape and blame the victim rather than setting boundaries to the attacker, or at least not agreeing with the attacker. Okay? So his father Yusuji was a father, small household named Burishin next to the river Onon, and was hunting by the secret history of Mongols. How is it secret? I don't know. It was a composition from the 13th century on his life. So Yusuji kidnapped the Wallon, the mother of Temujin, who was of another tribe, and made him his second wife. So again, he was born out of rape. I said what I said. I did not know that before. I was looking at the chart and I knew what I was like. Hey, he was born from rape. That's what happened. And polygamy, his second wife, because he couldn't pay for a bride, so he kidnapped. Again, if people wouldn't pay for a bride to begin with, and they would have economic sovereignty for women, then we wouldn't have a Ginghis Khan. He's kidnapping brides because he couldn't properly marry. Now, again, if all marriages are rape, then the kidnapping is not a problem. Nothing makes rape, makes rape okay, no matter how many deals are signed supposedly correctly about that. And Temujin, he was exposed to the cruelty around him. His father died of poisoning, of course. I mean, he raped from another tribe as a vengeance on killing one person of the tribe. Then after his father's death, the tribe did not find a reasoning to carry the two widows with the 7 children. They always have 7 children. I think my father had it was a family of 7 children. And the children of Yusuji, and he abandoned Temujin and his family. So he was the murder of his brother in Götter. So Temujin and his family. Temujin was Temujin was Genghis Khan. Okay. They were like Bedouins, but they lived from fruits, animals that they hunted. Then he caught a small fish, and his stepfather kidnapped the fish, took his food from him. Look how many traumas, such a young child. Then his mother, the Valen, was supporting his father, him and his young brother. Okay, him and his young brother killed the brother that kidnapped his fish with an arrow. It's almost like the mythical gods. Or he killed his bigger brother, half brother, after the death of his father, so that the bigger brother will not rape his mother. I said what I said. I just looked at the chart. I had no idea of anything that's written here. I'm reading this for the first time. I knew that he was consulting spiritual shamans in every tribe that he conquered. That's all I knew. Folken, we have another Genghis Khan coming. And Bekter, that was the senior child to his father from his first wife, was supposed to be by the Mongols inheriting his father and rape all his women that are not his biological mom. Colonel, what the fuck is that? And by another, Trudy, I need your intake on this. By another version, Temujin is Genghis Khan, killed his brother after catching him eating an animal that he hunted without sharing it with the rest of the family. Okay, so he was trying to kill, I saw killing as caretaking, killing those who are not nourishing. Anyway, we have in another Genghis Khan Falcon. Um, so there are a lot of, okay, him becoming a leader with the Mongol tribes. I need Trudy on Genghis Khan. She's probably gonna talk about it every time I mention a name that she doesn't like. I think she sees that even in spirit. She's like, and then I see Trudy on that one, Trudy on that one, Trudy on that one. I'm like, okay, we need Genghis Khan. Um, so he was uniting the Mongolian tribes by conquering the empire, the Mongolian Empire, which was a part of China, India, Korea, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and Russia. Elam. The capital city was Karakorum in Mongolia. United the Mongols according to the constitution that was called Yasa, which they had to be completely loyal to him, kind of like North Korea. And he wanted unity, so there wouldn't be tribal wars. And those who cheat were persecuted. I understand why he said that, because in the Mongol tribes, the child could rape everybody but the biological mother. The mother could poison the husband if he was raping, and then if the man would have another wife, which was cheating, I guess, then he would execute them. That was kind of like the closest approximation to sexual sovereignty of women. But because men who cheat were basically men who raped more women. So he's trying to mitigate something. But he himself, he very likely need to also rape. Like, it's very weird, because they used to harvest their creative energy from women. So I don't know. And he was doing a psyops. He was doing psyops, so he was the father of MK Ultra, or not, I don't know. And they conquered a lot of land in Eurasia. So there was the bow and arrow, the Mongolian horses. Okay. China, Farsi, Arabian lands, and Europe were destroyed. Again, it was allowed because none of those people had sexual sovereignty for women. So all of their teachings were fragmented and their spiritual teachings fragmented, and Genghis Khan consulted their spiritual shamans upon conquering. They were very cruel, these warriors, very cruel, riding horses. They said when he raided Beijing, so besieging of cities. This is to do with Al-Qaeda, by the way. And he said if the city will give up, he will leave the people alive. If not, he will kill all the people. Makes sense. Then he Then he would burn entire city and all these people. But again, when a woman is not able to live safe and free, disaster after disaster. I said it a couple of times that we have another eclipse with besieging of cities. And what can I say? It's the same old. The same old. Um, burn the entire city and its people. Like Falcon, don't rape. What is so complicated with that? People want power, and all of their cities and empire are burned by the power that they stole, because it's basically they burn in the hell that they created to get that energy. It's not a prophet. It's just like this is how it works. Like it's common sense. There's a trajectory. The cities were slippery for the fat of the bleeding bodies everywhere, bodies upon bodies. And he warned the cities Bukhara and Samarkand. He said everybody who is given up will be saved. Those who will fight will be destroyed. Now the thing is, because there were all kinds of tribal wars, he offered something better than Hamula wars. He said, Falcon, if you don't fight, if you are in peace, you will live. If you do this Hamula wars, I will burn all of you. And I'm like, stimmt, makes sense. So then he got to Iran, Farsi, and the Silk Road of trade roads, where people could be protected from being robbed. Anybody that fought him was, and he ordered to found a huge pyramid from the heads of from the skulls of the city residents to frighten other cities. You see, all the people, all the Epstein rings, this is how they will end. Skulls in pyramid, skulls and bones. Like the skulls and bones in a pyramid to warn other cities not to do that unfuckery. Secret history of the Mongols. By the new books he gave freedom of religion, forbid human trafficking and slavery. Anybody that does that takes the entire world. Expanded the global economy, and he invented diplomatic immunity. So diplomatic immunity is being removed from human traffickers, but if you escape human trafficking, you are eligible to diplomatic immunity. Now, according to the moderns, who could have absolutely, or they probably, maybe they invented history, but this was, according to them, the father of basically diplomatic immunity and the ability to escape human trafficking. That's why he got the entire earth. And spiritually, I tend to believe that, because I see whenever I see people mistreat, people rape, people traffic, then they have disaster after disaster. And his large empire connected East and West, and his grandson Kublai Khan, the grandchildren continued the grandparents. Researchers and Jack Waterford described the effect of the Mongolian effect on Europe as one of the main causes to the Renaissance in Europe. Some people say towards the end of his life he was trying to turn his empire into a civil state based on the Book of Yasa, which was given equal rights to all citizens, and women. I said what I said. It's just seeing a pattern, okay? Even the Rothschilds, when they founded Israel, they gave equal rights on the law to women, even though they were patriarchs. They were keeping women from power positions because they wanted Israel to hold for like a century. It worked, but because they were still rapey, then and Epsteining, then it didn't prevent anti-Semitism because they didn't give full rights to women, and that means that they harvested on the creative energy of children and women and creating a volatile structure of power that doesn't stand the test of time. And he died from a natural death, August 1227. Then there was division. Dnieper is Dnipropetrovsk, is Ukraine. Between the four of his sons, first they expanded it, but under their regime, it didn't last. His grandchild, Kublai Khan, was the emperor of China, which Marco Polo visited. So I would need to learn about Kublai Khan. But that's the issue. When you don't harvest the creative energy of women, this creative energy vouches for you. The sky that punishes the land loses the mandate of the heaven, be it Mao Zedong or we the people. I said that. My Instagram was banned because I said that, because China, because China, because China. But it's true. And we have another Ginghis Khan eclipse, and then Uranus would go next to Beta Persei again. So newborn people, we might have some births that are going to be Genghis Khan. It's not the Antichrist. It's like, hey, if women are not given sexual sovereignty and spiritual sovereignty, then basically it's kind of like if there's nobody to argue your opinion, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot stand the test of time. Harvesting on other people's creative energy and plagiarizing them and not allowing them the freedom to express themselves and tolerate that disagreement, which is the fraction that's needed to spark consciousness to keep growing, is basically killing creation and causes decay and fungal structures which eventually need to be destroyed. Anyway, European Union should be up next. Enki. And yeah,